can't say anything anymore, can you?
Now, identity politics can be risky terrain for a comedian, but Ben Elton has been pulling it off since the 80s.
We've got 4 million unemployed. What have they done? Put the price of fags up. I mean, that'll solve it, won't it?
80s era Elton was just as high energy. After more than 4 decades on stage, the stand-up returns for a UK tour later this year. Talk to us about your tour, Authentic Stupidity. This isn't therapy, although we are sitting in quite a therapy setup, isn't it?
Doesn't it?
Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah.
What is the title all about?
Well, I don't normally give my tours a title, and I didn't really need to give this one because it is just Ben Elton Live, which is what I normally say. And indeed, any of my tours could have been called Authentic Stupidity. When I was writing all this material, it's all new material, you know, everyone was talking about artificial intelligence. I mean, Sunak actually had his famous conference where, you know, Elon Musk actually sat there and said, oh, yeah, I mean, we don't really know, but it's perfectly possible that within 5 years, humanity will be redundant. You'll all be out of work. Now, if that was a terrorist speaking, we'd be on the phone to MI6 in a second. We've invented a machine that might well put everybody out of work within 5 years. And we're all going, it's an existential threat to humanity. But, hey, it might be able to write a new Beatles song. So, hey, you know, a little bit give, a little bit take.
I take it you're not a big fan of Elon Musk?
Oh, look, it's selective. I mean, no, not particularly. You know, when I was young, you're too young to remember this, but there used to be a benchmark for the richest bloke in the world. Like, there's this bloke, Aristotle Onassis. He owns his own ship. He's got his own yacht. And it was like that was something only the Tsar and the Queen had. You know, but this bloke's got his own private yacht, his ship. Now they're queuing up. There's a yacht jam outside Cannes Harbour, and they're all trying to lure Leonardo DiCaprio to get on board and, you know, with his latest whatever, you know, and so they can be in Hello magazine.
OK.
Right, the music's too loud. The neighbours have been complaining.
Ben Elton's first TV success came aged 23 as the co-creator of The Young Ones, the sitcom with Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson, who played flatmates in a squalid student flatshare.
Pigs, right?
A cynical and absurd take which became a recurring theme. There's been a big debate about whether you should have sort of trigger warnings on certain shows for people. I just wondered how you felt about that. You know, some people say it's horribly millennial and kind of oversensitive, and other people say, no, it's just compassionate.
I think we have to be careful about an oversensitivity. I mean, you know, it's self-evident that people don't have a right not to be offended. They have a right not to be the victims of hate crime, but there's a long space between those two things, and we must be careful to keep that distance. You know, being offended is not a hate crime. It's just somebody either being rude or merely being somebody you don't understand. I mean, I've often been thought of to have given offence and discovered that I had no idea that was how it was being taken. And often people haven't really been listening. So I think on the whole, whilst I applaud a new sensitivity, we must maintain a sense of proportion. And although I'm not going to become a sort of gibbering right-wing cultural warrior about it, I do think, you know, the idea that you put a trigger warning on Hamlet or a stand-up comedian, you know, there might be bad language. But on the whole, I think we should credit people with more intelligence, more sensitivity, and also allow them to discover mistakes. If you never hear anything that you object to, if you never see anything that challenges you, then you're unlikely to grow as a person.
On your point about being compassionate in some ways, I've read a quote as a self-confessed lefty that you actually admired Margaret Thatcher in some ways, and I nearly fell off my chair. Is that true?
I admired the fact that she was honest about her beliefs and she stuck to them. I always say the same thing. I personally disagreed with almost everything she ever said or did, and I feel she was an immensely destructive force in British society. But I admired the fact that, unlike the current crop of politicians, and I speak to the left as well on this, nobody seems to stick to their principles anymore. Power seems to be an end, rather than a means. It should be the means towards improving the quality of people's lives, not assuaging the egos of whoever happens to be sitting on the throne at that time.
We will rock you.
And last year, unashamedly, in Double Denim, Elton made his West End acting debut, starring in We Will Rock You, the musical he co-wrote with Queen. Was it exposing taking to the stage, or did it just feel like a sort of natural vocation for you?
Oh, look, it was a bit of fun. I loved it. There's a part for an old geezer, an old rock and roll guru. And it was Brian May who said, you know, we've seen you audition, we've seen you rehearse this with other actors so often. And, you know, he said, you're always the funniest at it. Why don't you ever go? So I auditioned for the director and gave myself the role. And it was great fun.
Ben, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.